to all of us. What I'd like to mention is a few things. Number one, the Elisa Lanera Foundation is recognized by the state of New York here as a business entity, and also we are recognized by the federal government as through the Internal Revenue Service as a 501c3, which means we are recognized as a nonprofit organization. And thus, that's why we are all here tonight. This is a fundraiser event. So just to remind you, in case you didn't know, any and all donations that are made this evening under federal tax laws are allowed to tax deductible. Talk to your accountant or talk to me later and I can answer those questions. What I'd like to do is to introduce our board members. There's a wonderful group of people that are serving on the board of the Elisa Lanera Foundation, and each one of us has some specific skills and talents and backgrounds that we've been able to bring together and to effectively work towards the mission that we have here at the Elisa Lanera Foundation. And I'd just like to share a few words about what our mission is. And that is to provide poor adults, poor communities in Africa. Jaymie has a presentation that is very touching and even borderline emotional, at least for me, in a few places. And I'm going to let Jaymie speak for herself, and I'm going to let the presentation speak for itself. But I do want to underscore, I'm going to ask you to open up your hearts, open up your minds, and invite you personally to come join us in our mission to help out and support the Elisa Lanera Foundation. Our board members are, the chairman of our board is a gentleman who has tremendous shoulders, very, very wide, strong shoulders. Bobby's role as the chairman of the board, technically and authoritatively, he has the ultimate responsibility. So the nice thing is the buck stops with him. So would you please welcome our chairman of the board, Bobby Schaefer.
Stand up, Bobby. Right away, Bobby.
Helping him out is the rest of us. I proudly serve as the vice chairman of the board, also doing some work in fundraising. The treasurer and financial officer of the board is James Lanera. I always called him Jimmy. We've been friends for over 30 years, and I've always called him Jimmy. And it's very
only like him for the last.
James. Family usually call him Jaymie, but to me, he'll always be Jimmy. And I have to find her first. There she is. And the secretary of our board, as well as overseeing the marketing, is Nikki Collins.
Right away, Nikki.
We have, I guess for lack of better words, maybe I shouldn't say it specifically, but we have a quasi-staff member, Nikki's sister. This young lady is an amazing support, a tremendous help, and she really does a lot of the hands-on work for the foundation from an office point of view, clerical point of view, making arrangements every which way, and she is an absolute joy and a lovely, lovely person, and that is Kristen Collins.
Kristen.
Before I introduce our speaker, just to remind you that we do have a 50-50 raffle, as I mentioned before. The tickets are $10 each, and then 3 tickets for $20. We do have a number of items that are a silent auction. I hear the Yankee tickets are very, very popular. There's 4, and the what? And the cheese. Oh yes, the cheese is very, very good. And so, please consider that as part of some help. I've been thinking a lot about what can I possibly say to introduce this special young lady. And every time I think about it, I start to crack up. I just mentioned to someone earlier, because I was asked, I met Jaymie when she was 5 hours old, 25 plus years ago. I have seen this lady grow to be such an extraordinary, extraordinary person. Through her high school years, and I live in Florida, I've been there for 20 years. But I'd come back for vacations, or I'd bump into her in Florida on occasion, and I would see what a lovely young lady she has developed into. And what's very interesting is that as she went off to college, and she was doing all of her traveling and her extra studies that she was doing, whether I would see her and hear from her, or through Jimmy, or the other family members, I was just so impressed with what this young lady was doing. She really wasn't, and I don't mean this in the funny way it's going to sound, but she wasn't a normal kid. She had a burning desire to learn more, and she had a burning desire to meet people. And anyone that's ever met her, she's so engaging and so lovely. as her father has always said, she's destined to do great things. About maybe 9 or 10 months ago, approximately, the Elisa Lanera Foundation really started to take foot. A couple years ago, Jaymie had said to me, and her father too, that I want to start a foundation, Uncle John. I want to start a foundation, and that is my professional business. And so I said, I'm there. You just let me know, and we're going to do this. So about 9 or 10 months ago, it started. As I mentioned, we petitioned the state of New York, and we've been recognized. We are licensed now as a business entity. And then we went to the federal government to get the proper 501c3 authorization so that we can say donations given to us are a charitable deduction. Then the board meeting started, and the individuals that were invited and chosen to be part of the board, and that's when I started to see Jaymie absolutely flourish, quite amazingly. I started to see some of the presentations, see some of the pictures. I started to hear some of the stories. This truly is, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, sweetheart, but an extraordinary young lady. I can't tell you how much pride I have, but to introduce Jaymie Lanera.
Woo!
Thanks, Uncle John. Let's hear it for Uncle John.
They are! Woo! I think AJ's calling.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for coming. Before I get started, you all know my name is Jaymie Lanera. I'm the Executive Director and Founder for the Elisa Lanera Foundation. Before I begin, I'd like you all to take a look at the centerpieces on your table. There should be a picture in them. There's a face on that picture. That's my mother. And while I'm giving this presentation, I just want you to keep in mind that everything that I've done and everything that we have done as an organization wouldn't be possible without her. A little bit about myself. Short.
Runs in the family.
Graduated from St. Bonaventure University in 2006 with my bachelor's degree, and during which I studied also in Oxford and in Italy and in France. And I pursued my master's degree at American University, in which I was sitting in one of my classes. I was studying French interpretation and translation, and I was sitting in class, and we were translating an excerpt from the Bible, from Genesis in the Bible, or as a field. And I said, no, it's a field. I know it's, I said it was a garden. I know it's a garden, the word in French, garden. He said, no, I lived in France for 15 years. It's a field. So needless to say, right before this, I went to the Jean-Claude Canfin Gallery to get a donation that he gave to us. He's from France. Turns out I was right. Anyways, I'm sitting in class, and I was like, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? Worry about whether the Garden of Eden in French is translated as a field or a garden? So within that moment, I stood up, I handed in my paper, I walked straight to the registrar's office, and I withdrew from school. And on the walk home, this was in January of 2008, and shortly previous to this, I had been nominated to be an international delegate with a nursing scholarship program in South Africa, which I was extremely interested in, being that most of my life I've worked with HIV/AIDS, volunteered at hospices, and raised money for HIV/AIDS awareness. So as I'm walking home from this epiphany that I had, I'm thinking, oh geez, I'm 23, I'm so old, what am I going to do with my life? Then remembering that I had this opportunity coming up in May, I decided to pursue my this trip to South Africa. And as I was thinking about it, I got this feeling, literally goosebumps. And I felt, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that something bigger was waiting for me over there, and something was going to find me, and I didn't know what it was, but I was so excited. I was like, okay, I have a plan. I called my dad. I was like, I'm not crazy. I have a plan. Don't worry.
Crazy.
So, sure enough, when I got to South Africa, it took 1 week, and my life was changed. When I saw the faces of those children, and when I saw their smiles and their curiosity, and saddened at the same time by the lack of resources that they had to exercise any and realize any opportunity that they had. as Uncle John said, my father has always said to me when I was growing up, he said, Jaymie, you're destined to do great things. I don't know what, but you're going to do great things with your life. He instilled in me the importance of the value of education and how with education you can live any dream. I noticed that same potential in the children that I met in Africa. The only difference is that the children that I saw there, their curiosity, they had so much curiosity, they'd look around and they'd ask questions and they'd thirst for knowledge and answers. But their curiosity is unable to be fulfilled due to the lack of educational resources that they have. And their innocence of the unknown makes the need for change invisible. Some say ignorance is bliss, but blissful ignorance will never lead the world to a better future. How many of you have kids? Keep your hands up. How many of your kids are in school? Oh, okay. So, you can put your hands up. And I'm sure that everyone that has kids in school, and anyone that has kids in general, I mean, what we want for our kids, and I just had my first one 3 months ago. So I know that education is the most important thing. You want your kids to succeed not only to their fullest potential, but maybe even possibly further than you did. My father was the first of our family to graduate from university, graduated from a 2-year college. And he always told me education is most important. So by making education my top priority, and with the help of my father, I became the first of my family to graduate from a 4-year college. And it's not the experiences that I had in college in the United States and abroad, and everything, people I met, things I did, it was educating me in every single way possible. It's social skills, just I noticed all the opportunities I had, and I saw everything that was out there. We want the same for our children. Imagine this. If you lived, imagine you lived in a community. There was no educational institutions anywhere within walking distance. There was no public transportation, and if there was, you didn't have the money to pay for it. And you wanted your kids to go to school. What would you do if you lived in an area like that?
Try hard.
Try hard.
Get educated.
So
leave right away.
Leave right away. So basically, whatever you'd be doing, you'd be walking really long and really far. These children, they don't have any educational institutions or resources anywhere within walking distance, and they don't have the money for public transportation, and there really isn't that much. You can say, oh, well, I'll teach a homeschooler. Okay, but that's very difficult when you've grown up in the same society as them with the lack of education, and you're not very educated yourself. And pretty much you're just living to make $1, or whatever the currency is in their country. It all comes down to the proper education. The BP oil spills that's happening right now in the Gulf. We all have heard about it. We all have our own opinions, and we own on it, and we all have our own theories about how we would go about fixing it. All of our theories and opinions are based on the education that we've had, and we know that there's technology out there that can fix this problem. There are 2 pictures that I have here of gentlemen walking through oil spills and covered in oil. These are in Nigeria. There have been thousands of oil spills since the 1970s. Thousands. How many of you have heard about oil spills in Nigeria since the 1970s? That's exactly my point. Because they're going on, nobody knows what to do about it. They don't know that walking through diesel oil is not only hazardous, it is not only dangerous, but it's toxically hazardous. It's to your health. Education. Being in Africa for 6 months, I've seen things that I never thought I would see. I've seen people, oil fields, gentlemen knee-deep in the oil with buckets, lifting buckets out, handing them to others to sell. Oh, it's free. I'll make some money. But not realizing that that's extremely, extremely dangerous. Another example of the lack of education that these people have. This next picture is, you see the gentleman in the very back there with the smoke. He's burning his garbage. And all these piles of stuff here are piles of garbage ready to be burned, which, as when I was living in Africa, was also one of my chores after I was there for so long. The woman I lived with was like, all right, you need to start taking on some of these chores. So she would send me out to burn the garbage, and some of the things I would see would be, you know, aside from feces and toilet paper and whatnot, plastic, batteries, stuff that we would never think to light on fire. Batteries explode, the toxic waste of burning plastic. The world would be, and will be, such a better place once if we can start with the children, educate them little by little, generation by generation, this world can achieve its goal of peace. And maybe with the proper education of a child in Africa, one day, if our country, if the children of America or of any other nation are in trouble, there will be an educated African child that will grow up and say, I'm going to start a nonprofit organization to help these people and to keep world peace. Americans, the greatest thing about our country is Americans have always been the first people to help. Whether it be war, starvation, poverty, HIV, AIDS, earthquakes, tornadoes, tidal waves, we are always the first to go in and offer our financial aid, our military aid, any kind of aid we can supply. We're there. And that is what makes me so proud to be an American. Whether it be our community, our nation, our world, we see it as our responsibility. Sir Edmund Hillary, a well-known philanthropist, he said, slowly and painfully we are seeing worldwide acceptance of the fact that the wealthier and more technologically advanced countries have a responsibility to help the underdeveloped ones, not only through a sense of charity, but also because only in this way can we ever hope to see any permanent peace and security for ourselves. Curiosity is the first step in the beginning to change. The opportunity without change today. I've been to many, many places and I've seen many things. However, nothing as eye-opening and as heart-throbbing as the need for change in education in Africa. I've seen firsthand the root cause of most, if not all, social and economic problems is due to the lack of education. With education, we can give the children of the world hope for a better future, the promise of opportunity, and the end of ignorance. HIV/AIDS, huge thing in Africa. South Africa especially has the largest HIV/AIDS epidemic rate in the world. More than half of the population is HIV positive. And those are only the people that have reported that they're HIV positive. And aside from the people, there are people who don't know they're HIV positive, and there are people that do know but don't report it. But still, more than half of the population is HIV positive. When I was in South Africa, I visited many clinics, hospitals, health centers, and there was one clinic I went to, and our class was sitting in the classroom, and the director was speaking to us, and I heard something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Every 23 seconds, a woman in South Africa is raped, abused, or murdered. When I heard this, I looked at my watch. I had been sitting in this room for 45 minutes. Waiting for me in South Africa. Well, that's something big came to me when I was on a bus riding through the township of Booleatu, which is this township right here.
Stay in the mic.
Huh?
Speak in the mic. Stay in the mic.
Basically tin cans, square tin cans with a flat tin roof over it. One on top of the other, on top of the other. Probably about 2 water pumps for maybe 4 football fields worth of these tin houses. And communities, water and sewage. I was on a bus driving through this this township. We later got out and walked through, but on the bus we were told a story about a young woman named Jaymie who was a California student studying in South Africa. She was killed on her way home from a study group. She was killed in a mob riot in 1993. 4 men stabbed her to death outside of a gas station that we were passing by. And when South Africa established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Jaymie's parents went over to South Africa to confront her daughter's killers. Jaymie's parents ended up adopting 2 of these men and educating them and providing for them an opportunity to which they can lead a better life in the spirit of their daughter. And the most amazing thing about this story is that this girl's legacy lives through 2 men who played a major role in her death. They now run the Jaymie Foundation in South Africa. They were changed from murderers to community servers with education. Their transformation represents the power of education. And it is this story that, after hearing the story, I said, I'm going to start an organization. I want to be a part of this. I want to change people for the better. I want to help people realize the opportunities that are out there through education. And I want it to be in the name of my mother. My mother, in case you don't know, Elisa, she passed away when I was a little bit after my first birthday, and I never knew too much about her, but spent a lot of my life trying to get to know her. And I always hear good things, but it wasn't until I was able to feel her myself that I was able to really understand what she was about. And with that, she's given me the courage and the motivation and the power to do this. Like the Jaymie Foundation, our organization focuses on educating the children of Africa through programs in schools, restoring hope for devastated communities, and empowering youth by providing opportunities through education. With education, the future generations will be equipped enough to deal with the challenges of tomorrow. So when I came home from that South Africa trip, I met up with Kristen Collins, and I told her about everything that had happened and how I had a life-altering experience and that I wanted to start a nonprofit. And she was so impassioned by what I was saying that she was like, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this. So I said, okay, before we get started, I need to go back to Africa because I myself need to be educated more and need to do more research about the educational structure and the healthcare system in Africa. And that's when I went to Ghana and I taught in a school for 6 months. And then I went to Uganda and I worked in a local HIV and AIDS clinic in Uganda.
She has to pick it up a little bit. She has to pick it up a little bit. She really does.
What I noticed about the children in Africa when I was teaching was that they look forward to going to school because they live in places like this and like this. And then they have a place like this to go to where they can exercise their resources and they have resources. They have resources and they are so happy to have them. This is the school that I worked at and lived at. And that was my bedroom window for a while. Oh, my lovely, beautiful children. This school and the children, they saw going to school as an escape from their substandard living. It was their hope for a better, improved lifestyle. I'm going to quickly go through some of the things that we are doing as an organization. And, I mean, you all said you have kids. How many of your kids are really, really excited to go to school in the morning? Wake up and they're really excited. Really? That's such a surprise.
Michaela loves school.
She does.
These kids can't wait. These kids are up at the crack of dawn, and they're at school waiting outside the gate early. How many of your kids come home and say, "Oh, Mom and Dad, I got so much homework to do. I'm so excited. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to my room right now and get it all started." No, I wasn't like that either at first. But these kids are, and I taught in America for a while too, and I always thought it was a great thing. You know, Fridays come around and I'm like, "Okay, kids, great week. No homework. Have a good weekend." Well, when I went to Africa and I decided I would relate to the kids that way, you know, I'm cool, I could be a kid, I'm going to give them the weekend off. When I said that to them, their faces dropped still. Well, this one girl, Sasu was her name, raised her hand, and I said, yes, she said, "Auntie Jaymie, please give us work. We want work to do." I was so surprised, and as a teacher, that is the most rewarding thing as a teacher, to have your kids actually want to do work. Granted, I was unprepared for that, so I got an A for effort though. My father came to visit, and he did a religion lesson where, if you see in the background WWJD, he gave that lesson.
Anybody wants the American version? I'll see you after.
Just so you're all familiar, Ghana is in West Africa, right here. Where I worked in the AIDS clinic, Uganda, right there. So Ghana is in West Africa. Every single country in West Africa, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Niger, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, are all all French native speaking. So, except for Ghana. Ghana does not speak French. So I thought it would be a great idea to create a French curriculum for this school so that the children would have the opportunity to travel and it would help them qualify for jobs. Let's say they wanted a job either in or dealing with one of the neighboring countries, they would be qualified. So we had money donated from the United States to buy textbooks and dictionaries, and I created the first ever French curriculum for this school. Just to put you in perspective here, 36 textbooks and 36 dictionaries cost $100. I mean, my one college textbook cost about $250, I think, and I had 7 of them. So that just proves, and when you see our slogan on the banner, proving that little can go a long way, well, that little bit can go a very, very long way. All the way to Africa and more. Book reports are something that everybody knows about. Either you've done them or your kids have done them. And it's something that we would like to continue to incorporate in our educational curriculums. These children never heard of a book report, don't know what a protagonist, antagonist is. So we began book reports. The books that were locked up in a closet that they didn't have access to because the teachers don't do anything more than what they're paid to do, if that, were locked up in a closet. And so I went, I got the books, I signed them out to the students. They had 1 week to read the book, 1 week to prepare a report with a plot map,
In the microphone. Nobody hears you when you're not in the mic.
With a plot map like that's this, a visual that could have been a replica of the book cover, and a list of vocabulary words, the underlines that they didn't understand, and that they had to look up, and they had class time to do that as well. Then they presented it to the class, and were encouraged to ask questions. We also instituted the first community service program. My t-shirt. I had money donated for t-shirts, and on the front of the t-shirt is the school crest, and on the back of the t-shirt is the words "Keep Ghana Clean" in the colors of the Ghana flag. And each student, if you can see, has their own name printed in black at the top of the shirt. Now, when I showed these shirts to these children, not only were they so excited that they had a new shirt, but it had their name on it. So how excited were they to go do community service? So before we went out, I had a short, very brief lesson in the classroom of why it's important to help your community and why it's important to keep the environment clean. And we went out with bags, filled our bags up with garbage, and the students, they were so cute going around. And you all have probably heard the song before, but I haven't. But they would go around and they were singing, clean up, everybody, everywhere, clean up, everybody, do your share. Chanting it down the roads of the village, and then we went to dump the garbage into the compost pile, which will eventually be burned. And it would make the kids, they loved it, and the reactions that we got from the community, people stopped what they were selling, they stopped talking, and they clapped. They clapped. And this had a major impact on bringing the community together. During the school vacation, the kids wanted extra classes. They wanted to do more. They wanted to learn more. So we did classes such as painting, dressmaking, jewelry making, carpentry, computer training, French extra help. This was my bedroom. These two computers are at the school. The learning center that we are here today to raise money for is at this school that I was working at. These, I don't know if any of you had a chance to come look at these, but if you haven't, please come and look at them when the presentation is over. This is what the library looks like now, and it's right outside of the school. And these computers are there. They were donated a long time ago, and they're sitting in the proprietress's den, which was my bedroom, and that computer was mine. So I arranged for these three computers. I had 3 students at a time, 1 hour per 3 students for a few days, and created a typing program. So they each had their own account in the typing program. I showed them how to go on, and they practiced for a few days typing, their first experience ever with computers, and they loved it. And these computers are there, but they can't access them because they're locked in the proprietress's den, and like I said, the teachers don't take them there. So with this learning center, the computer room is going to be on top. These plans were drew up by a friend of mine from South Africa. He's an architect, and he came and drew these plans for me. Computer room where we have a place for the computers, where the kids will have access at their disposal to go, and they know how to get into the programs, and they'll be able to continue their computer training. And then the library on the bottom, which will give them access to the books that they don't have access to now, but are there. They're there. The books are there. They just need to get into the hands of the children.
She's gonna pick it up a bit.
Pen pals, we did pen pals with a 3rd grade elementary class in Henderson, Nevada. And baseball, we didn't have bats and balls, but we marched to the field, and I had a slip and slide donated. We marched to the field singing, "We want a single, just a little single." And then imitated pitching and batting, ran around the bases, and then banana peeled around 3rd base using the slip and slide to slide into home plate. These kids learned something new that day. They had no idea about baseball, how to play it, anything about it. And then when my father came over, he brought some bats and balls, and we were able to play it out a little bit. The last day of school, my last day there, was the closing ceremony, the last day of the year, and I gave out awards to each of my students, best student, most improved, hardest working, etc. And I know you can't see their faces very well here, but to receive that award and shake my hand was that was a moving time for them and for me as well. I think I cried with every award I handed out. So we're inviting you to help us in our journey to educate these children and slowly but surely make this world more educated and a better place for everybody. The Learning Center is our first project, and with that, these children will have access to everything that our children should have access to. With the help of your contributions, we can make a difference. Our future endeavors quickly are the schools and curriculum in South Africa, and creating vocational job training for the men and women of that community to help build their schools and teach in their schools where their children are, and hopefully with the health programs that we'll be instituting in the educational curriculum, we'll be able to impact the infection rate of HIV/AIDS little by little. So I invite you to ask any questions about anything that I have presented, or any questions you may have at all at this time.
Or after, or see you after. Say thank you. They can see you after. Invite them after to ask you questions.
You can see me after to ask me. Okay, Bobby.
All right.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the website. You can volunteer and get involved.
The website, helpsafrica.org. You can donate money through the website. You can contact us if you want to volunteer or help out in any way. We're always looking for any kind of help. Teaching materials, even if you know someone that knows someone that knows someone that could help, we want to know about it.
All right, that's it.
I would like, before we finish, just to give a really, really, really big thanks to Gary Wessel and Bruno Wessel Incorporated for helping us. It wouldn't be possible this event without them. And I have a certificate of appreciation for you that you can collect at the sales table, since I don't have it with me right now. I want to thank my board of directors for being so supportive, and all of you guys for coming. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to us.
Thanks for coming and donating. I forgot to donate part. Good job. All right. John, say something about the few minutes we're going to close the auctions and get going here. What else? What?
Centerpieces.
We're going to be closing the auction, so we're going to give you maybe 5 or 7 minutes just to go take a look and see what's there. If you had your eyes on the baseball tickets or anything else, or the cheese that's there, and also the 50/50 raffle, last donation's there, and then we'll finish up our meeting. So we'll come back in a few minutes.
I
Thank
had to
you.
look at them all day.
Hey, the persons whose next birthday can take the centerpiece.
Say that again?
Next birthday, centerpieces.
Whoever's birthday at their table is the closest, is the next, can take the centerpiece with you. Whoever has the closest birthday to today.
June 25th.
Sold.
All yours.
$50.
Didn't mention. Donation is required with that.
Yeah.
So people will see us in trouble.
Nah, it's probably that way.
Kristen, how you, what's that, turn off?